very sadly, of course, Ian passed away. However, the Blockheads have got themselves together. They're touring at the moment, so they've been together 30 years. It's their 30th birthday, and if you want to revisit your youth, they're going to be at the Cheese and Grain on December the 13th in Frome, of course. As I say, very sadly, Ian passed away. They've got a new singer, though, who was a good friend of Ian's, and his name's Derek Draw. I had a chat with him, and I asked him, he basically now, in his words, does the verbals for the Blockheads, and I asked him to remind me of their classic hits.
Well, there was reason to be cheerful, you know, what a waste, sex and drugs and rock and roll, hit me with your rhythm stick.
I think that's the one that most people will kind of jump on, hit me with your rhythm stick.
Yeah.
And when, you know, when he was on Top of the Pops, just such a great performer, just completely different, really, from anything anybody'd seen at the time, I reckon.
Well, Ian was at sort of art school, you know, and I think he brought a lot of that sort of theatrical sort of genius to his act.
Yeah.
You know, sartorial elegance and, you know, a little bit off the wall.
And then the band, what happened? The band broke up?
Not really. I think, you know, after the Stiff tour, everybody, you know, it was quite a sort of frenetic, tiring sort of thing, and Ian needed a little bit of time off, and while he was having his time off, it was getting into sort of films and stuff like that, so it was difficult to get the band back going again. And then, you know, come 1990, I think, you know, Ian was in the doldrums a bit and thought he'd get the music going.
And at that point, because obviously he legendarily, towards the end, was not obviously a well man. So at what point was his illness appearing at this stage? Well,
we just made a great album called Mr. Love Pants in the about 1996. Fantastic album, and we were out touring that, really. You know, we've been doing work since the early 90s on a dribble sort of basis, and then after the album was made, we went out and done quite a lot of work with Mr. Love Pants and toured it up and down. And then he was diagnosed with the cancer, and he had a little operation and took a few weeks a couple of months to recover from. And then his doctor said, well, you know, the best thing you could do really is to keep yourself occupied and work, you know.
And so that's exactly what was going on. So did you continue touring again at that point?
Yeah, we just continued getting as much work as we possibly could, and you know, and we toured Mr. Love Pants up and down. You know, it was quite hard work, and Ian wasn't, you know, the full ticket, but you know, stoically soldiered on. Did you kind of have to look after him a lot at the time? Not really. I mean, Ian was pretty self-sufficient, you know, in getting about and stuff. It's just if we run into any awkward stairs or any awkward sort of, you know, get-ins or get-outs that I come into my own. But yeah, I guess towards the end of his illness, I was looking after him a little bit more and more, you know. Because you were his driver and you know, his minder as such, weren't you, at the time? Yeah. So you obviously got to know him. Do you think better than other people? Well, pretty well, yeah, because you know, we sort of relied on each other quite a lot. And yeah, I guess so. It's sort of, you know, the fragility of it all, and you know, yeah, I got quite hands-on with the sort of treatments and stuff like that when we were out and about on the road. Remind us what form of cancer he had. Of colon. Colon cancer. But it's after it sort of spread into other bits, you know, secondary cancers was what finished him off, you know. What sort of a man was he? Because I've got my impressions of him. Well, it was fantastic because, you know, he was a very brave man, you know, at the end. But up until then, he would always try the old soldier, you know. He you know. But when the push come to the shove, he sort of shone, you know. He wouldn't let he took it on board himself to keep everybody's chins up about his demise, you know. I mean, you know. And he worked on that, really, you know, so that everybody else didn't get depressed about it. He kept everybody cheerful, even though it was his gig, as it were. He came over as just a lovely guy, which is why I was, you know, wondering, because I just imagined that. Oh, he had so much strength, and I think, you know, working with his illness all his life, his sort of, you know, disability, he knew every day was going to be a struggle. So eventually, it didn't bother him. He just got up and got on with it.